Welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 on Money Mindsets Matter. I'm Chad Craig. Thank you for tuning in. Remember, if money doesn't matter, then what's the matter? And if you're not preparing, you're not prepared. You know, here in this Episode 1, we're going to look at a personal story in the life of my financial journey, and mine being me personally, but then, of course, my household up to this point. But when I share this part of my journey and story, it really highlights the power of a mentality. The power of a mentality. You know, one mentality, one way of thinking can really hinder you, hinder a person, can really bind someone into negative action or inability to see possibilities. And the contrary is also true, that one right mentality has the power to enable someone to begin to see opportunities, to see possibilities and experience that they never thought was possible. That one mentality could really begin to bring an empowerment and freedom in someone's life. And that's what we're going to look at, is the power of one thing. You know, you can find story after story for some people. Maybe it was one handshake that really changed the trajectory of how they saw money because they met a person, and the person challenged a mentality, and the removing of that mentality and the replacing it with the right mentality, all stemming from a handshake, a meeting, changed them. Maybe for someone it was one other moment, a bonus, and they found themselves having an extra amount of cash, and the thought of, okay, what do I do with this, became a catalyst for them to address some wrong mentalities or to have a new mentality built in their life. And that's the power of one. One thought, one question, one key connection, one action step that drastically can change the trajectory of an individual and their whole lineage. And so we look at this today here in Episode 1 of Season 2. And if you remember, if you have seen or listened to previous episodes, either watched them here on YouTube or listened through the podcast, you heard different examples in the previous episodes of my journey and different things. And one of the things I shared is that I was a cash person. So whether you realize it or not, the environment you grow up in really forms your mentality, not just in life in general and worldview, but also about money. And so the environment I grew up in, there was enough influence that it formed in me a mentality of being a cash person. So even as a young child, when I got birthday money, Christmas money, when I had jobs, money coming in, I put that money aside in a bank account, and just began to accumulate cash. Well, by the time I reached senior year in high school and graduated, I had a decent amount of cash saved in the bank. And my parents matched the amount of cash that I had saved that I was withdrawing to buy a brand new vehicle. And so, do you know that when I bought that brand new vehicle, this was back in 1998, it was as I shared before, a Honda CR-V, a manual 5-speed, the only one in the large city I grew up in Louisville there in Kentucky. All the other ones were automatic, but a red one. Did you know what happened the moment I drove that car off the lot? My account savings balance instantly dropped over $10,000. The amount that I put up and my parents matched, and I bought that brand new Honda CR-V, 1998, a red one, manual. Instantly, my account went down that amount. You know what else happened? Not just my account instantly went down, but my parents' account instantly went down the amount of money that they matched me with. Think of that. Instantly. All the time, all the discipline to reach that pile of cash, instantly down to zero. You know what also happened then? I forever lost any connection to that money that I gave the dealership. Forever, my connection and relationship with that pool of money ceased. If that money, that $10,000, ever went and made more money off of it, I was forever severed from the benefit of that money making other money. Maybe you've heard someone quote before. I've heard different people over the years quote and say how they view money as little soldiers, and they send their soldiers out to capture other little soldiers, meaning they want their money to make more money. Well, when I took that cash pile that I had saved up and took years to save up and gave it to buy in cash that Honda CRV, instantly my account went down that amount, but secondly, I instantly lost the ability to ever see that money make more money. Now, someone has that money. That money didn't just vanish. It was actual money, and someone has used that money to make other money. But because I gave that cash to the dealership, any money that money has ever made since then, I was forever severed from having a relationship or a benefit from that money. And yes, of course, I had a nice car. So I had an good that I purchased with that money, but also that good that I just purchased, the moment I drove it off the lot, it also went down in value. So if I were to turn around the next couple of days and sell that, I wouldn't get all the money back that it took to first purchase it. And you know what else happened to my parents? Not only did their account go down that much in value, but they forever lost any relationship they had with that money, and they lost the potential of that money ever making money for them. Now, that money made more money. It made more money for the dealership. The dealership maybe then gave it to someone else, and they used it, but it forever severed the relationship as well with my parents. So you know what that means? My parents' lineage generationally lost access to the benefit of that pool of cash. That pool of cash was forever now going to benefit some other business, some other family, some other lineage, but it was forever outside of now our control to be able to utilize it to make more money. Nelson Nash is quoted as saying, most people don't think long range. And as a pastor and overseer, church planner, and as a discipleship maker in local church context, I have reiterated the reality of that time and time again, that even followers of Jesus Christ, the challenge and the call scripturally is to begin to think eternally minded, meaning to think about how my now will impact the future, how my now will impact the age to come, how my now will impact eternity. And you see time and time again the difficulty of humanity, or humans on their own, to think long term, but only to think short term, to be short-sighted. And so at the time, I didn't know any better. I felt good giving up that cash and receiving that good of that vehicle. But I'm no longer a 18-year-old. And now I'm a husband and a family man, a father of 3. And the older you get, another scenario, another factor of information begins to mirror back to you. And that's the value of time. The value of time. So often when people think about money and their mindset of money, they try to distance money from its connection with time. But you can't do it. See, when I gave that $10,000 to the dealership, not only did my bank account go instantly down $10,000, and I forever lost the ability to use that money to make more money or to benefit for that money ever again, but I also was giving an amount of time. And from a scriptural standpoint, life is like a vapor. Even if your strength of years is 80 years, that in the whole scheme of things, 80 years goes so quickly. And now, as one that's considered to be in a midlife stage of life, you begin to really see mirrored back to you the value of time. The value of time. And so though then I felt good doing cash, now I realize that it was a mistake. I realize that there is a wiser way, that there's another opportunity. It's another opportunity. So we're just looking at that illustration from my personal journey regarding that $20,000 plus car. And that was in 98. Did you know that the average new car at the time of this filming in 2026, do you know the average new car for the first time in history is over $50,000? Over $50,000. So think about, if you're a cash person, how long would it take you to save $50,000? How long would it take? Even if you had very healthy money mindsets that empowered you to have good action points of discipline and not wasteful spending and things like that, I guarantee it would still take a while. Now think about going to college. You say, I'm a cash person. All right, well, how long is it going to take you to save up money to be able to go to college debt-free without taking out a loan or other options with just paying cash? Good luck, right? What about buying a home? Did you know that in the state of Georgia that I'm in and filming, that the average home currently, according to Zillow in the state of Georgia, is $328,216. So if you have a mentality that cash and using cash is the way to experience freedom and God's best and it's the way forward, then you're going to have to save up over $328,000 to buy just an average home in the state of Georgia. And to that I would say, good luck. How much time of your life are you going to give to see that amount of cash pile built up? Nationwide, the average for a house is currently $435,000. So the point is this. There's a lot of people that talk about cash and accumulating cash and that loans and debt is bad. We've addressed that. You can go back and look at many episodes, and we'll revisit it some today, the difference between actually good debt and bad debt. But the point that we're reaching now in this first episode is accumulating cash is not a standalone issue in the matter. Because when you have a right money mindset regarding cash, you realize there's a time element that must be involved. And when you really think about things that you desire, goods or services you want to acquire, and you realize that it's not just about seeing cash as cash, but cash also represents time, and it takes time to get cash, you begin to realize that you do not have adequate years, you do not have adequate time within the season that you desire those goods or services to reach the ultimate pile of cash you need in order to acquire that good or service. So it's not just about how much can you save, but how much time will it take to save that, to save it. In fact, we were just looking at a commercial rental property for $1.2 million. It was close to about 7,000 square feet. And we chose not to put in an offer, and we actually got involved in the deal in another way. But how long would it take you to save up $1.2 million to buy a commercial property around 7,000 square feet to be able to rent it out to a business or several businesses? Well, good luck. Good luck saving up for that. You say, well, Chad, you don't understand. I'm a doctor, or I'm an engineer, or I'm an airline pilot, or I'm a high-level business owner. Well, let's talk about that for a second. So I looked at the top highest paying salary jobs in America, 1 through 100. And number one in America is an airline pilot, $225,350 per year. The 100th highest paid job in America currently is a web interface designer, $87,140. Okay. Now, on this web where you access this information, it also tells you how many people are actually pilots. Well, you can imagine that number is not significantly large. So we're not talking about something or a career that large numbers are getting into, but even those that do, their salary on average $225,000, $350 a year. Now, so let's say on that $1.2 million deal for that commercial property, okay, around 7,000 square feet, it would take a pilot 5.3 years at $225,350 salary a year to get $1.2 million in cash to buy that property, to take advantage of an opportunity presented to them to purchase it with cash. But that is if they don't use their salary for anything else, for their eating, for their home, for electricity. That's if they had the capacity and ability to save all that money without expenditures. And I don't know anyone currently in my life that does that. And so we know statistically, even with the government statistics, that those making over 100,000 say they live paycheck to paycheck. So when you begin to look at the numbers, when you begin to think about the reality and the money mindset and how it matters, and not just thinking of cash just as money, but also time, you realize that people who proclaim that cash is the only way forward, they're proclaiming something that to the masses, to the ordinary, even to the highest earners is just not feasible. Often you'll find those that say that it's because they have a product that sells multi-million dollars worth of sales every year, or have a, an income coming in through selling things like that, 5-10 million a year. Well, of course, you have that type of cash coming in, then yes, you can depend on cash a lot. But the average person, that's not the practical path forward. And so as we looked at before, this brings us into the issue and the money mindset regarding borrowing, of good debt versus bad debt. I want to read from Proverbs 22:7. Proverbs 22:7 says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Now, I've heard this scripture used in many ways, and there's, of course, through a wisdom proverb, numerous applications that can come out of it. But when you read all of the context of where that verse comes from, you'll find it is sandwiched in the context of multiple characteristics of the wise, and one of them is regarding money. So one of the ways when it says train up a child in the way that he should go, when he is old he will not depart from it, is talking about training the next generation, training our lineage to have the right biblical money mindset, and that it matters. I'll read the whole context real quick. Proverbs 22:1, "A good name is to be chosen rather than great riches." We've talked about that, how character is involved in having a right money mindset. "Loving favor rather than silver and gold. The rich and the poor have this in common. The Lord is the maker of them all. A prudent man foresees evil and hides himself." Now that's talking about the value of being able to think long term. That those who are not preparing are not prepared. A prudent man foresees evil, foresees danger, foresees potential snares or roadblocks or obstacles in the future. Okay? And they make provisions. They hide themselves from those dangers, those wrong mindsets, those wrong choices. But the simple pass on and are punished. "By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life, and thorns and snares are in the way of the perverse." Those curse ways, perverted ways of thinking about money, those unbiblical ways, the ways that the enemy would want us to think about money instead of a biblical money mindset. "Thorns and snares are in the way of the perverse, and he who guards his soul will be far from them. Train up a child in the way he should go." Notice that, right, talking about thorns and snares Mentalities. We've talked about that Jesus Christ wore the thorns, the crown of thorns on his head. He took the curse, the wrong thinking, the perverted thinking about life, about God as Father, about ourselves, but also in every area of life, including money. And so it's saying train up a child in the way he should go, not the way of the perverse, not the way of wrong mindsets. And when he is old, he will not depart from it. And then it says, the very next verse, the rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. He who sows iniquity will reap sorrow, and the rod of his anger will fail. He who has a generous eye, the eye in Scripture is used all throughout, even in Eastern culture, even some place today, represents the soul of man, the desires, the will, the affections. He who sows iniquity will reap sorrow, and the rod of his anger will fail. But he who has a generous eye will be blessed, for he gives of his bread to the poor. So notice that this training of the next generation deals with also money mindset. And so this shows how each generation influences the generation to come. Just like me being a cash person, there was factors, there was things that I experienced growing up. There were outward things that helped form that way of viewing money in my life. And everybody is formed in some way based on those experiences, based on their ultimate environment that they were formed and shaped in growing up. But then it says the rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Powerful thing. So there is good borrowing, there is bad borrowing. And coming into play there is understanding that what helps accentuate and bring life and liberty and freedom, or what begins to bring enslavement and restricting and removing opportunities from people. So how did it, one thing, change, moving me from just thinking that cash is the way forward? Well, for me, what the Lord used and challenged me was one video I saw. Now, I'm going to do my best to illustrate and draw for you similar diagram that I saw in this video. And I no longer can find that video exactly, but I'm going to draw and talk through the heart of the video I saw and how God used it on my journey to bring me to this place that we're going to talk further about. So the person in the video was talking about purchasing a car. Now, this meant something to me because up to that point in my life, and this was just a couple years ago in this area, I had bought numerous cars, all cash. And we were back to a time in my family where I had been planning and knowing that it would be time that my wife was needing a new vehicle, and I had promised her a new vehicle, and I had some money into some stock baskets that were coming to maturity, and that money would be freed up, okay, to be used to purchase the car. One of the things that we ran into, which is something we're going to talk through in multiple episodes, is the issue of inflation. That you can start trying to save cash, but there's always the time factor. And the time factor, part of it that plays into how effective that cash can be as time goes on, is the economy, the state of the world, the financial system, and the issue of inflation. So, for instance, as I mentioned, I drove in 1998 off the lot a brand new Honda CR-V for over $20,000 plus. Well, today the average new car is $50,000. So you have over 100 times increase in the cost of a new car. I should have looked before recording this on what the cost of a brand new Honda CR-V is today, but we know it's not just over $20,000. So you're dealing with also the issue of inflation. But here's what Let's say you're planning and wanting to buy a vehicle that's $30,000. You're starting at zero, and you're going to start saving cash all the way until you get to 30K. Now, this is going from 0 to 30K, so this is your money side. Here, vertical, going from 0 to 30. This represents your time, the horizontal line, the time factor, okay? And let's say that it takes you 5 years. Five years to reach the 30K. You have 30K you have saved. It's in a savings account. And you take that, you go to the dealership, and you pay cash, and you buy that car. So you have now a car right here. But what happens? The same thing that happened in my story. Immediately, that line immediately instantly brings you back down to $0. 5 years, and then immediately back to zero. So now you have $0 in that account, but you do have a car. Of course, that car is no longer going to be, once you drive it off the lot, worth the 30K. Okay? So let's say you are going to continue. Now, do you know the average person now in America, they keep their car, a new car, 7 to 8 years. That's the average. Most ain't doing that, 7 to 8. And I can tell you, most don't do what I, as a cash person, used to do and have done. And that's one of the vehicles we still have in our household is now, we've had it for 12 years. No, 13, going on 14 years. I paid a little over $12,000 cash for it, okay, which means I have kept it long enough where my outlay on it, okay, on average, just for the cost, equals to about $1,000 a year. Every year I keep it, that number drops. Very few people are going to keep something that long. It's a Toyota van. It's got 324,000 miles on it, all right, that we've put on it. So you have a good, but its value is constantly going down, and your account went to zero. All right, so let's say you're going to do it again. All right, well, the average person going to keep the car 7 to 8 years. So let's say 7, just be generous. So you add another 7 years. It comes out to the 12-year mark, except now the car you want, because of inflation, another 7 years, let's say it's $35,000. So now you need in a 7-year period, you're starting at zero to do what? Slowly save up again. To that 35K mark, you go, you buy the car, SUV, whatever it is, 35, and instantly what happens? That account, boom, back to zero. See, when you have this money mindset, you understand how much time it's taking in order to even get that pile of cash. And of course, if the average person who makes over $100,000 a year is living paycheck to paycheck, they have no margin to save anything for 1 year, much less 5 years, to get a pile of cash. It don't work. But yet they have cars. So what's the other option? Well, this is this appears the cash mentality. So, but what do others do? And what's the other mentality? The other option is the credit mentality. And the credit mentality is you go to the dealership and instantly you take out a loan. It's a little hard to read, but instantly it drops to $34,500. You say, well, why isn't it 30? Oh, because when you take the loan, they're going to charge you interest. And so you're going to be instantly in the hole $34,500. And that's generous interest rate, okay, for 5 years. So now what do? You start paying in monthly payments. And you're slowly paying until what? Until, let's say, at the end of 5 years, you've paid to the dealership $34,500, but where are you at financially? You're back at zero. This $34,500 is not in your bank account. You, as you got money, was paying it into the dealership. So what is your financial state in this regard? You have zero, but what happened? You also lost 5 years. You forever lost relationship with that money. And it took 5 years to get back just to zero. Then you say, okay, I need a new car, so I'm going to do it again. Well, this time, you need a $35K car. Let's say it's going to cost you $40,000 with interest. So instantly, you go from zero to being negative $40K in loan. And then what? You slowly start paying it back. Let's say it takes you 7 years. And what do you have? Well, you're back at zero. And you have a 7-year-old good. That is going to be nowhere close to being worth the $40K it cost you. Now, we were about to buy, again, a new car for my wife with cash, and I saw this one video. And the Lord used it to challenge the cash mentality when it comes to how to move forward in a money mindset. And that's why money mindset matters. And here's what he said. He said, what if there's another option? Another option of not having cash mentality? Or a credit mentality? But what if there's another way? What if the money could go somewhere else and while the money is going somewhere else, there's another opportunity that parallels with it. So at the same time, there's another line. looks like this, something like this. This is how I want to show you. You have $30K in another place. At the same time, there's a parallel line that tells you the access, guaranteed access you have to someone else's money. Now, some would say this is understanding OPM, other people's money. And your access to this other pool of money, an amount of money, is guaranteed. And at the same time, what you do with this green line does not affect your money that's in the place this purple line represents. And your money in the purple line grows at a guaranteed rate. That means the trajectory, this purple line, never changes. Day after day, the purple line continues on the same path at a guaranteed rate of growth, on a compounded guaranteed rate of growth. And it can grow uninterrupted at that guaranteed compounding growth, despite what you do with access to the green guaranteed amount of money you have access to. So with this option, once this green got to 30K, you can access that green line, and the green line drops down to zero, but your money, represented by the purple line, continues to grow. Uninterrupted. Guaranteed. Wow. Now think about that. You don't even have to know anything really else. The hows, the whats. When you think about these options, this really, through a healthy money mindset, would be the logic, the most logical thing to do. Because your money is growing nonstop, and it's guaranteed to grow uninterrupted. And guess what? You're keeping the money so you continue to have access to the benefits of this money making more money. Where in all these other scenarios, your money, once you buy the car, instantly you lose that $30,000, and you forever lose the ability to be connected to that $30,000 and the money that $30,000 will continue to make. You lose your connection to it, lose the ability to utilize it to make money. Over here, no. Your money, 30K, continues. So what happens is, once this line goes to zero, you start paying what you would before be paying the dealership, or what you would be putting in your savings. You start paying it back to what this green line represents. And this starts coming back up. Coming back up. Coming back up. And then if you want, it gets to 35K right here. You use it, you can buy another car. And then, but here's the key. The whole time, your actual money is still under guaranteed compounding growth. And it's uninterrupted. This is how we are called to train up our children in the way that they should go, so that through a healthy money mindset, we can live out the wisdom of Proverbs and the wisdom of Scripture, where if you study about the blessing, the empowerment of God that's available to one who's in right standing with Him through Jesus, foreshadowed even through the old covenant, through the new, that the blessing, the empowerment of God's Spirit, you go read it, one of the aspects of the blessing is where you can lend to many and borrow from none. this is the way. And I'm now licensed to serve you and whoever on how to do this. And what the wealthy have been doing for centuries and centuries of how to not lose the money that you make, how to not lose connection to it, but continue to benefit from it as it grows, guaranteed, uninterrupted, with compounding interest. And yet at the same time, being able to use the value of that money and have access to the value of that money without interrupting its growth. Now this just represents, as we begin to close this episode, just the issue of a car. And I've done this. So this is not theory. I have done this. Me and my household have done this. Driving a new car, and yet the whole time, the money I was going to drop to buy it is in a secure, safe place where, by contract, it grows at a guaranteed rate of return, uninterrupted. Powerful. That's the power of one video, one thought, encountering one other mentality, that there's another option than just cash mentality or credit mentality. There is an option. If you want to learn more, stay around the following videos, or you can go ahead, you can message us. Money Mindsets Matter. You can reach out to us. It's our privilege to serve you. It's no cost to you other than the cost of your willingness to learn what you don't know, maybe. Find out more, but no financial cost. We do this to serve you. And so we want to find out more. Stay around. But think about that. That leads to the question, where would you rather put and store your money? You want to store your money just with a cash mentality in an account that once you use it, it's gone forever, from being able to be connected to your family, your lineage, your access to it? You want to store your money in creditors' bank accounts? Pay them? What if you could take back that function? You can. We're here to show you how. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Remember, if money doesn't matter, then what's the matter? If you're not preparing, you're not prepared. I'm Chad Craig. We'll see you next time.